Welcome to Solving Systems of Equations. This time we are going to solve our systems by using a method called substitution. We've got some steps here at the top that are going to help us just as a little helpful reminder of what to do when solving using substitution. So you're probably going to want to come back to these steps throughout your problems if you get stuck. So let's just go ahead and fill in these blanks together to begin with. Step 1 says we are going to solve for a variable. Remember, a variable is a letter like x or y in one equation. Sometimes this is already done for you. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to substitute. This is why it's called substitution. We're going to substitute the expression equation to the variable into our second equation. So we're going to take what we found in step 1 and we're going to plug it into the other equation. It'll make sense as we work them out, I promise. After that, we're going to solve our new equation that we just created. Okay, and it was created by using substitution. Then what we're going to do is to get the other part. So when we do this, I'll just say, when we do this, we're going to get the first part of the solution. To get the second part of the solution is this next step. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace the variable that we got from step 3 into either of the original equations to find our other variable. Okay? Something that I do want you to write is that you need to know that our answer will be an ordered pair. That means you need to solve for an x variable and you need to solve for a y variable. Okay, so we're actually going to solve for two different variables. The first one you're going to get after step 3. The second one you're going to get after step 4, and you need to make sure you write your answer as an ordered pair. Okay, so let's take these steps and we're going to work out these two together. Okay? So number 1, we have two, here's our systems. We have two equations that say y equals 4x minus 1 and y equals 2x plus 3. So what we notice here is both of them are already solved for the variable y. So step 1 is done. It's already solved for a variable. Okay? So we can pick whichever equation we want to use. So I'm just going to use the top equation. It says substitute the expression equation into the variable in the second equation. So what that means is we're going to take what y actually equals in that first equation, and I'm going to put it in place of y in the second equation. Okay? We're going to write a new equation. So my new equation, instead of having a y on the left, we're going to have a 4x minus 1 on the left. Then we have the equal sign, and then 2x plus 3. Okay? So this is our new equation. So we've done step 1, we've done step 2. Now we're on step 3. We are going to solve this new equation that we created by substitution. Well, what's the variable we have to solve for? It's an x. So we need to solve this for x. So I like to move my x's to the same side first. So I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. Remember, what you do on one side of the equal sign, you have to do on the other side of the equal sign. So 4x minus 2x is 2x. I still have a minus 1. Then there's my equal sign. 2x minus 2x, that goes away to 0, and I just have a 3 on the right-hand side. Now I want to solve for x, so that means that I need to add 1 to both sides. So this is going back to our solving skills. So we get 2x equals 4. Then we can divide by 2 to undo the multiplication, and we get that x equals 2. Okay, so remember I said after step 3, we should have the first part of our solution. So remember, our solution is going to be an ordered pair. This piece right here is the x. So I'm going to put it where the x should go. Now what we need to do is find the second part of the solution. So step 4 says we're going to replace the variable into either of the original equations. So that means you can use this first one or this second one. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to use the first one just to keep it simple. So y equals, I'm going to take that 2 and put it in place of x. Anytime you plug something into an equation where multiplication is going on, you need to put it in a set of parentheses so you do order of operations correctly. All right, so we get y equals 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 1 gives us a 7. So that means that's the y value of our ordered pair. So this is telling me that those two equations, if we graphed them, they would intersect at the point 2, 7. Okay? We're going to do example 2 now. We're going to do this one a little bit quicker. Okay? So we're going to take the first equation. We see it's already solved for y. So we're going to take what it equals and we're going to put it in place of that variable in the other equation. Okay? So my new equation is going to come from this bottom one, and except for y, we're going to put 7x plus 5. So we've got 6x plus, remember instead of y, we're going to put 7x plus 5 equals -8. Okay? Now we want to solve this for our first variable, which is x. So combine our like terms. This is 13x plus 5 equals -8. The next thing we move is this positive 5, so we subtract 5 on both sides. So 13x equals -13, because -8 minus 5 is -13. To get the x alone, we divide by 13, and x is going to be -1. Okay, if you need to use your calculator to know -13 divided by 13 is a -1, then please make sure that you do that. Okay, so this is the first part of my solution. Now we need to get the second part of the solution. So I'm going to go ahead, that's the x. Now we've got to find the y. So we're going to take this x that we just solved for, and we're going to plug it into one of the originals. For me, I think it'd be easier for us to solve it by plugging it into that first one. So y equals 7, and in place of that x, we're going to put the -1 we just solved for, plus 5. So y equals -7 plus 5, which is going to give us a -2. So this is the y value for my solution. So the solution to this system is -1, -2. Okay. All right, I want you to take a minute and I want you to try number 3. One of the variables is already solved for, so you know what to start with. So this time we're not plugging something in for the y, we're going to plug something in for the x. So go ahead, pause the video here, and take a moment and try to solve this one. Okay, welcome back. This is what you should have. You'll see I took the y plus 4 and I put it in place of the x in the first equation. Okay, and so this dark blue line is what I get when I plug it in, when I substitute it in. And you'll see you have to distribute the -10 to the y plus 4 first, then combine your like terms with your y variables, then finish solving for y. If you leave it as a fraction, you would have -15/4. I went ahead and made it a decimal because for this problem, the decimal is easier and it's an exact decimal, so -3.75. So then I took that -3.75 and I plugged it into one of the originals, which you'll see I plugged it into the second equation, for the y, and I got 0.25 as the x value. So I put the 0.25 in place of x in my ordered pair, and the negative 3.75 is the y of my ordered pair. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to work through number 4. Okay, so number 4, we have two equations. Neither one of them are already solved for a variable. So I'm going to look and say which one looks the easiest to solve for a variable, and to me, this second one looks easiest to solve, and I'm going to solve it for x. So that means if I add y to both sides, x is going to be alone. So I would now have x equals y plus 2. You can put 2 plus y either way. So I'm not really going to look at that anymore, at least for now. Okay, I'm going to uncross it out because I'm going to need it later, but this is where we're going to start now. So we're going to take what we just solved x to be equal to, and we're going to put it in place of the x in the other equation. All right, so I'm going to write out this equation, except where x is, we're going to put y plus 2. And remember, because it's going to be multiplied by this 3, we need to put it in a set of parentheses. Okay, so 3 times y plus 2 minus 3y equals 6. So kind of like the last problem, we need to distribute first. So this is 3y plus 3 times 2 is 6 minus 3y equals 6. Okay. So what we're going to notice here is that these are like terms and they combine. So 3y minus 3y, those go to 0. And I get that 6 equals 6. Whoa, there's no variable left. So my question is 6 equal to 6? Yes, it is. Okay, it always will be equal to 6 because it's the same number. So what that means for this problem, and this is a very special problem, is that all, we'll call it infinite solutions. Infinite solutions. Okay, if we were to graph these two equations, they would be the exact same line. That means one of them would be exactly on top of each other. So let's kind of put a note about that. So if we graph these, both lines are the same. That means that every single point that works for one of the equations will work for the other equation as well. Okay? Now, if we got one that came out to be like 4 equals 6, then that would be no solutions. Okay? Because those two lines would be parallel to each other. Okay? And you might see that in one of our other examples that we'll look at later. All right, so let's scroll on down here. I'm sure that little Bitmoji is not representing you. You definitely were listening. All right, so there's 10 problems on this next page, 2 pages. There is a answer bank here with extra choices, so not all of them will be used, but you are going to have 10 problems that you can work through, okay? I'm going to let you guys work through those, and then I'll put my answer key up after this video, okay? But I want to talk to you about this error analysis problem. Okay, so it says, describe in words the error that's made when solving the systems of equations. So if you will, pause the video here, look through it and see if you can find the mistake, and then check back with me. Okay, hopefully you recognize the highlighted part right there is where the mistake was made. They forgot to multiply by 6. So they forgot to put this multiple right here of 6 in the next step down. So that's what I wrote. Then in the light blue is where I first corrected the mistake. So the y should come out to be 6.6. And then you're going to see that I took that 6.6 and I plugged it back into the original first equation. That's over here. Okay, and I got the x is going to be 7.8. Therefore, the solution should be 7.8, 6.6. All right, make sure you do those 10 practice problems.